I've never really been that much of an art person. Like I've been to museums here and there. I've collected NFTs here and there. But that's really it, at least until now. Today we're going to go through a new on-chain generative art creation tool and marketplace called Prohibition.Art. We'll get into which artists are using it right now, the big difference between it and other art-based NFT marketplaces, and maybe just generally why you should consider using it if you're into generative art. Let's get into it. So as I mentioned, Prohibition.Art is a platform that allows for the creation and trading of on-chain interactive generative art NFTs, built on the ArtBlocks engine and deployed on the Arbitrum chain. And the nice thing is that there's already some pretty cool creators on Prohibition making some really nice collections. We'll start off with Slate Tuna, who created Trees of Euphoria. And as you can see, it's essentially just a tree with a bunch of, nature-esque things in the background. But the cool part about Prohibition is that you can actually generate different outputs based on each collection's algorithm in the background, or the script, I should say, rather than algorithm. But as you can see, every time you press on the Keep Exploring button, it essentially just taps into that script and creates something new every time, which is really, really cool. Then, of course, just taking a look at another artist, we have Ed Balloon, who created this collection, Beauty Supply is Out of Do-Rags, a personal synthesis of protection in timeless style. And, of course, Heart Plus Craft by Snowfro, co-created with Jordan Lyle, who's actually the founder of Prohibition.Art as well. And the really cool thing about some of these collections is that some of them are actually interactive. So if I go ahead and click on Run in a new tab, you'll actually see that it's floating already. I can press R and it'll rotate. I can press space and it'll start changing the background of this thing. I think if I press M, it'll make it metallic. And that's definitely one of the coolest things to me is that you can make your art interactive. It doesn't have to be interactive, but it just makes it all that much cooler, right? I mean, why not? Yeah, frankly, I myself have already acquired a couple of pretty sick pieces, if I do say so myself. And I'm thinking of starting my own gallery. I don't know. What do you guys think? Maybe. I should also mention, though, that they do respect artist-set royalties, so no worries on getting rugged on secondary sales, since their marketplace also does support that as well. So all really good things for artists. That being said, how do you actually create a collection here, right? Well, high level, if you do want a bunch of details on it, they do have a docs section, which I'll leave in the comments below. They have a video on how to get started with your first project, all the list of supported libraries that they have. An editor for the, different tools code and whatnot. They have a ton of stuff that can help you essentially create your own collection. But if you don't want to even look at this stuff, you can literally just go to the Create tab on the top right and just start creating your thing straight off the bat, So why does having on-chain art even matter, right? Why does it need to be on-chain? Well, if you're not already, aware, technically your average NFT is essentially just a smart contract on the blockchain that points to a picture off-chain on a platform, let's say like IPFS or any other image hosting site, essentially. Whereas on Prohibition, since they are using the ArtBlocks engine, the script used to generate the art is stored on-chain. So the art is essentially as immutable as the smart contract itself, which is great. So essentially, let's say, 10 years down the line, you want to go ahead and check on your favorite art piece to see how it's still doing and see if it's still there. As long as the chain is still running, that art will still be there, pretty much. And all this, of course, is, as opposed to relying on a third-party service to continue paying their bills. So I think it does make a pretty big difference there. So the main difference between Prohibition and different on-chain generative art NFT marketplaces, such as FXHash, TIA, and maybe Object, are the fact that they're only deployed on Tezos, these different alternatives. And to me, to be honest, that is the biggest difference that you're going to find between these different platforms, in my opinion, right? I mean, if you're an artist actually creating these things, then I'm sure there's different types of tooling that they offer. But I definitely think the chain is going to be the biggest difference because consider that since these things are stored on chain, the chain that it's being stored on, you really want to make sure that essentially it's going to be there for the long haul. It's safe and has more and it continues to get more adoption, essentially, right? Because essentially, if a chain dies, then your art dies with that chain. Right. And the nice thing is that I've seen quite a bit of overlap between both communities. The Tezos, I should say like the FXHash community and maybe the Prohibition community. But definitely, I think when you're using Prohibition, you have that, adoption and longevity kind of built in because obviously Prohibition is deployed on Arbitrum, which in turn stores data on Ethereum, which of course is by far one of the most secure chains, maybe behind Bitcoin, right? So I definitely think that's probably one of the biggest selling point, if not, obviously the fact that the marketplace itself is already pretty sick. But yeah, so why do I generally like Prohibition? I would say as a consumer of some of these nice art pieces, most of the art is on the cheaper end. So actually, if we just take it for a second and look back at some of the art over here, most of it is on the cheaper end, 0.01 ETH to 0.001 ETH, which is roughly around like $1 to $12, depending on the price of ETH, of course. And then obviously you'll have like the different variations of some art being, a lot more than that, and some art even being, cheaper than that. The second thing I loved is that it's interactive, right? You saw that I was interacting with that the heart one that Snowfro and Jordan Lyle released. I love that, right? I think it's so cool that you can actually interact with your NFT art piece, and again, have it be actually on chain. That's so dope. And the last thing, of course, you guys already know, is that it's on Arbitrum. For the most part, I generally limit myself to things to dApps that are on Arbitrum, Ethereum, maybe even other L2s, to be honest. But yeah, I essentially love anything that's on Arbitrum and doesn't end up rugging. As long as you're not rugging and you're on Arbitrum, I love you, pretty much. But anyways, that's all. What do you guys think? That being said, do you like Prohibition? Are you a fan of generative art? Let me know in the comments below. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.